Okay, sports fans, it's time to dive into the wonderful world of kites. I know you guys are super excited about this. Just got finished with that awesome rhombus lesson. You're psyched, you're learning, you're brilliant geometric geniuses. Either that or, you're just doing that to keep your grade above failing so that you can be done with this. Either way, I'm good with it. All right, the kite is the next quadrilateral that we're going to talk about. Now, the kite is not a parallelogram. The kite is not a rhombus. The kite is not anything special. The kite is in a world all its own. So it has its own special properties. It's different. Yeah, it's different. It's different. Okay, I'm going to stop. I'm not going to quit my day job. Basically, because my day job is at home right now, at my kitchen table, in my pajamas. You didn't need to know that. Let's continue. All right. The first property of the kite. Now, you see that this kite looks really, really wonky. All right. First things first. I'm the realist. The opposite sides are not parallel. Opposite sides are not congruent. So just forget anything that had to do with parallelograms. All of this stuff that we wrote a few minutes ago doesn't matter anymore. Let's not talk about it. Let's talk about this. In a kite, consecutive sides are congruent. Neighboring sides, pieces that are next to each other, consecutive sides are congruent. Consecutive sides are congruent. And what I mean by that is that the long sides that are right here next to each other at the bottom are equal. And the short sides that make up the top of the kite are equal. Now, the long sides and the short sides are not equal to each other. Just long is equal to long and short is equal to short. All right, so the next property that we're going to talk about with a kite is that one pair of opposite angles are congruent. So this angle right here that's in the middle of the kite is equal to this angle over here that's in the middle of the kite. So one pair of opposite angles are congruent. Now, it has to be this set. This one right here is not equal to that one down there. Forget about it. Doesn't happen. Not those ones, all right? It has to be, look at the yellow highlighter right now. It has to be this angle D congruent to this angle B. Those are your congruent angles here. All right, and the last thing that we actually are very familiar with has to do with the diagonals, and you can see that little square in the corner. You know him. You love him. He's a right angle, okay? Diagonals are perpendicular to each other. They make right angles. Diagonals are perpendicular. That's such a funny word.
Perpendicular.
Perpendicular. Okay, guys, what that means and what's going to be super, super, really, really important in here is that those diagonals being perpendicular creates four right triangles here. So you see this triangle right here becomes a right triangle. Pythagorean theorem, angles equal 180. All right, this triangle right here is a right triangle. Pythagorean theorem, angles equal to 180. This triangle right here becomes a right triangle. Pythagorean theorem, angles are equal to 180. And then this triangle right here becomes a right triangle. Pythagorean theorem, angles are equal to 180. So this thing, I'm going to make little notes over here. This thing, the diagonals make four right triangles. And just in case you missed it, that means that you can use the Pythagorean theorem to find one of the sides or all of the angles equal 180. Not congruent to, that was silly. No, there we go. All of the angles add to equal 180, okay? This also means this is still a quadrilateral. It still has four sides. So that means all of the angles in the kite, you're gonna look at orange highlighter now, all four of the angles in the kite, 1, 2, 3, 4, those have got to add up to equal 360 because this is still a quadrilateral, so all four of those angles have to add up to be 360. Get it? Got it? Good. Let's continue. All right, number one gives us this kite ABCD, and it tells us that angle A is 85 degrees and angle C is 43 degrees, and it wants us to find angle B and angle D. Now, the first thing that I know is that angle B and angle D are equal to each other because those are those middle angles in the middle of the kite. Those are those opposite angles that are equal to each other. Then I also know, yellow highlighter now, I also know that all 4 of these angles have to add up to be 360. I know that 85 plus 43 plus whatever B is plus whatever D is has to add up to be 360. So 85 plus 43 is 128. 128 plus whatever angle B is plus whatever angle D is equal to 360. And then you know as well as I do, because you're smart cookies, that all I have to do is subtract that from 360. So 360 minus 128 gives us 232. So angle B plus angle D equals 232. And since I know that angle B and angle D are equal, all I have to do is divide that by 2, and I'll know what each one of them is. And it turns out that angle B and angle D are both 116 degrees. Get it? Got it? Good. Let's move on. All right. This next one here tells us that this angle P is 37 degrees. All right. Now, that tells me a lot about this kite. First of all, remember, we said that this triangle right here was a right triangle. And that means that all 3 of those angles, yellow highlighter, this angle, and this angle have to add up to be 180 degrees. Now, orange highlighter, I know that this angle is already 90 degrees, which means that these 2 angles have to add up to be 90 degrees as well. So all I have to do is do 90 minus 37, and that gives me 53 degrees. So I know that this angle up here has to be 53 degrees. Get it? Got it? Good. Let's continue. All right. PTQ. PTQ. That's this angle right here. Now, we just talked about that. That's that middle angle in the middle of the kite. It's going to be 90 degrees. All right. The next angle, green highlighter, PQT. PQT, that's this angle up here. And we found out that that angle was 53 degrees. All right. The next one asks us, yellow highlighter, about QRT. Oh man, they didn't give us that one, but we know that this angle over here, this 37 degrees, has to be equal to this angle over here, so it also has to be 37 degrees. So that angle is going to be 37 degrees. I hope you have enjoyed this